Hey everybody. So today I'm going to be showing you how to put together your giant paper flower. And this is the sample that was available. The kits that you picked up had different color paper in them. So this one here is the purple pink ombre, but you might have white or pink or red in addition to this color here. So today for the tutorial, I'm actually going to be using the red paper. When you first get your kit, you're going to have some templates in there along with the colored paper. You should have a round flower base. It looks like almost like a bow tie. This is a flower center. And then you should have 4 different sized petals. And they are labeled small, medium, large, and extra large. And it is important to kind of keep track of which is which because they're going to be put on in progression from outside in. And we're going to be rolling the edges, shaping the edges of each petal to give the flower a little bit of definition, a little bit of shape. So I had planned on showing you doing a bit of cutting just to show you kind of how that process worked. But I got ahead of my skis and I just started cutting away. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your templates, you're going to set them onto the paper, you're going to trace around them with a pencil. Again, you're going to need 5 of each shape. So you're going to need 5 of the petals, so 5 each of the petals, small, medium, large, and extra large. You're going to need 3 of these little bow tie flower center shapes, and you just need 1 flower center. So I would start first by doing the flower center shape. This can be any color at all. It's going to be hidden behind. It's actually the base that holds all the petals. So this can be any color at all. In fact, if you didn't plan on making any other giant paper flowers, you could probably use this as your base and glue your petals to this. Otherwise, you can use any color you'd like. If you have one of the single colors, just do like I did mine in red because I'm using, as I said, the red paper. But you can do it in pink or white or purple, whatever you so desire. On that same piece of paper, if you're being thoughtful about how you're putting your templates onto the paper, what you can do is you can kind of trace that circle down in the corner, and then you have space to do your flower centers on the same piece of paper. If you're doing the ombre, this would mean that you would have to use the same color for the back as the center, so the bright pink. On any of the other colors, it can just be one of your sheets of paper, but that will save you a little bit of paper, so you won't have to use as much, and you'll have some extra left over that you might actually be able to make a second flower out of if you have enough paper at the end. So 1 circle, 3 of these flower center bow tie shapes, and then you're going to be doing 5 each of the petals. Okay, I find that I can't cut out all 5 at the same time. I trace it, I lay my template down, I trace around it. I do a stack of 3 pages and then cut around. Then trace 1 more onto a new piece of paper, stack a second sheet under that, and then cut out. So I have 5 of each. I have to cut through 2 stacks to get each 5, but you get a better, you're being a little bit more efficient. You have a little bit more control over the shape. And if you're using the ombre, you're going to have to use basically sets of 5 different pieces of paper for each size petal. So 5 purple for the extra large, 5 light purple for the large, and then 5 of the bright pink for the medium and the small. So if you're using large, or I'm sorry, if you're using a solid color, so red, white, or pink, all the petals being the same color, you can actually do the small petal and the medium petal all on 1 page, or the small petal and the large petal, and then the extra large petal and the medium petal. You can make it work. So, you know, certainly use your templates, kind of lay them out on the paper before you start tracing. So you have a good idea of how you can be efficient at saving that paper. The more paper you save, the more options you have for doing additional with the extra supplies that you might have. So remember, 5 of each petal. So trace and cut out. And when you've got all your pieces cut out, then what we're going to start doing is we're going to start shaping those petals. So I have my 5 each cut out, my small, my medium, my large, and my extra large. And for our, oh, this is a great time to remind you to plug in your hot glue gun. I almost forgot, and I would have been a sorry camper. If you have a dual heat, dual temperature hot glue gun, I would actually put it on the low setting for this. We're just going to be doing paper, and we want it to dry relatively quickly without burning ourselves. So the low temp is actually going to be perfect for our needs. I'm going to plug this in, get it warming up so it's ready to go when we're ready to go. Okay. So first things first, we've got our pieces cut out. Now we're going to be taking and we're going to be cutting a slit in the bottom of each petal. Okay. You're going to cut about 1.5 inches. The reason that we're cutting a slit in the page is, again, we're going to be doing some definition. So we're going to be gluing it to create almost like a little peak in the shape of the petal. And this is going to give us that cupping effect. That's going to make it look more like it's going towards the center of the flower. If we just leave it like this, it's going to end up being relatively flat. So making that cut and then folding and gluing is going to give it that kind of concave cup shape as we work towards the center of the flower. So you're going to do that to every petal piece, okay? The smaller petals, you can get away with a little bit smaller cuts, so maybe 1 inch on the smaller petals, 3/4 of an inch on the smaller petal. Your best bet is to, I wouldn't go too conservative, like I wouldn't do like a 1/2 inch. You're not going to get enough pinch, and it's going to be too flat. So certainly I wouldn't go more than 2 inches, but between 1 inch, 1.5 inches on the bigger ones are fine. You can also do more than one at a time. So I'm going to just speed through these. Shoop, shoop, shoop. 1.5 inches. Going down to the size large. Just cut probably just another 1.5 inches or so. As I go down in size to the medium, I'm going to start cutting that a little bit smaller. I'm going to do like 1 inch, 1.25 inches. And on this bitty baby one, I'm probably only going to do about 1 inch. Yeah. So just a little bit smaller than the bigger one. I don't know if you can see the difference, but it's a little bit smaller there. Okay. Now that we've got our cuts in each petal, we're going to be shaping the petal. You can use a pencil to do this, or you can also use the end of a wooden spoon or spatula. I'm going to use a wooden spoon. It's a little bit thicker. The diameter is a little bit bigger, so it's going to make a little bit wider bend. So it's going to be a more gentle bend. Now on these petals, the extra large and the large, you're going to be taking and folding the paper back so that the pieces have bends towards the back. You're going to do that for every petal. So your petal is shaped like this. We take our spoon, we put it behind the corner of the petal, and then you just press the paper against the dowel or the pencil as you roll the paper back, and you get a curl like that. And you're going to do that on each side, each corner of the petal. You're going to press the paper against it and roll it towards you. And it's going to give you that curl on the paper. Okay. And we're going to do that for every extra large petal. So each of the extra large petals is going to have the corner rolled back. So I'm going to just keep going on this. I could have done this part, I suppose, ahead of time, but I did not. But we can do it together, because you can always fast forward or pause as you work. Petal, almost there, almost there. Remember, we're on extra large, the largest petal, and both of the petal corners get tucked back on the extra large. Great. Now we're going to move down in size to the large petals. So for my friends doing the ombre, this is going to be moving down to the light purple. Same thing as we did on the extra large. We're going to be taking the spoon and we're going to be rolling both corners backwards. So same direction on the roll. Okay. I was really excited about this activity. I've seen these in groups of 3 or more, different colors or kind of complementary colors, and they look amazing. I've seen them on decorations on walls, wreaths. I've seen them on headboards of beds, and they just look so pretty, and they make me think of summer and cool evenings. All right, so when you're done with the large shape, then we're going to move on to the next size down, which is our medium. Now I'm going to mix it up a little bit, because the medium, we're going to, instead of doing both corners backwards, we're actually going to do opposite directions. So we're going to roll one edge, one corner back, and the other corner forward. So I will show you like this. So one corner we're going to roll back, just like we have been on the large and the extra large. But on the other corner, we're going to go the opposite direction, like that. So you're going to have one side, it's going to look a little bit like a propeller. I don't know if you can see there. Yeah, so that's the medium size. Okay, so we did the 2 largest, same direction, medium size and small size. We're going to be doing opposite directions. So each corner is going to be rolled the opposite way. Okay. Again, you can do this with a pencil, or if you have a wooden spoon, the handle tends to be perfect. So I'm recording this on Thursday, the 29th of April in 2021. And it's a bit gray outside. I'm actually kind of excited to be inside where it's a little bit warmer and less damp. All right, so I have done my 5 medium petals. They don't stack as nicely when they're kind of lopsided. Now we're going to move on to our final petal, the smallest petal. Just like the medium petal, this is going to be the opposite. So one corner is going to be out, the other corner is going to be rolled in. Try to keep your petals separate. I just tossed that on the pile and had a moment of like, oh wait, I'm going to confuse that for the wrong size. So try to keep your sizes kind of in the same, separated from each other and in the same area. So all the smalls together, all the mediums together, et cetera, et cetera. All right, we're getting there. I'm almost to the end of my small petals. Last one. Ta-da! All right. Now I'm going to check my hot glue gun, and you should too. We're going to start using that to form that cup shape for the petals. And mine is starting to drip, so I think we're in a good place. So what we're going to do, pretty amazing. I can actually rest it here. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be putting a little bit of hot glue down here along that slit. And we're going to be taking our paper and folding it over to create that cup shape. Be very careful. Remember, even though we're using low heat, it can still be a little bit warm. And if you don't have a dual temp and yours is just scalding hot from the outset, be even more careful. You want to be really careful that you don't get it on your fingers because you can get a pretty bad burn. If you're using like a craft glue, that's great. That's fine. Just be aware that you might have to use some kind of like a clip to hold it in place until it dries, or a staple. The hot glue is nice because as soon as you put the glue on, it holds its shape. You don't really have to you don't have to worry about it coming apart, the tension of the paper, making the petal shift. All right. So I want to go this way. All right, so you're just going to keep doing this to each petal. Okay. You want them each to be cup-like. Yeesh. Even low temps. Spicy hot. Okie doke, okie doke. Here we go. As I warn you all to be really careful of the hot glue. I keep sticking my finger in it. All right. So now I'm moving on to the little bit bigger petal. So just like I did with the smaller, I'm putting a strip of glue along the inside of the cut like this. And then I'm just kind of folding it over like that and pressing it down. And I really am trying to be careful of the glue. I'm not doing a good job, but I am trying to be careful. All right. Right, so I'm almost done with the medium petals again. Ouch. Now we move on to our large petals. And now this is, we want the petals, the rolls to go towards the back. So you want to be putting the glue opposite the direction the curls are. So where it's curled back, you want the glue here. Because when you do your the cup of the petal, you want those swoops to go backwards, away from the inside of the flower. On the ones that are opposite, it doesn't matter so much. It's more of a personal preference on kind of which side you like coming in and which side you like going out. But it isn't going to make a big deal, a big difference in terms of the aesthetic of the flower. But on these petals, you do want it to kind of be rolling outwards like a true flower. Now these would be described as like cottage roses because they're not as tight as like a rose that you might give on a special occasion. These tend to be a little bit more natural, and not to say that a rose you might give away on a nice occasion isn't natural, but these are ones that you might typically find on like a bush outside somebody's house. All right. So those large petals are all done. Now we're going to do the exact same thing on the extra large petals. Same thing as with the medium or the large rather. We want the curls to be facing the back. So the glue goes on that opposite side so that you get the petals curling out away from the cup. Okay. Last one. All right, now it's time to work on the flower center. All right, so what you're gonna do is these are the flower centers here, and they look like the bow ties. We're gonna take just one of them right now, and we're gonna kind of fold over at that junction so that we have that center piece there. We're gonna fold kind of at that little center of the bow, okay? What you're going to do is you're going to put a little bit of glue on the outside edge of one side, and you're going to roll it in. Okay, so you're going to kind of roll it in, and the other side of the petal is going to roll to meet it. Now, if you're like me and you have a little bit of glue there, no big deal. Just peel off. This is going to be in the center, so you're not going to really see it. It's going to be a little bit more compressed than the rest of the flower. Okay. Now remember where that crease is, you want to kind of fold it up. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this side and we're going to fold it up as well, and we're going to glue it around it. So we're going to put a dot of glue on each edge here, and then we're going to glue it to the other side. Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit of glue here, a little bit of glue on the other side. And then we just kind of wrap it around. One there and one there. Okay. And what I've done is I've kind of pushed it down against a table so you have that nice flat edge there. And you should have a little bit like almost like a roll. I don't know if you can see it very well. A roll kind of at the top. Now what we're going to do is we're going to be gluing these a bit lopsided like this. So you're going to create almost like a cross. So you're going to do a little drop of hot glue in the center of one of them, and you're going to put the other one right on top. Okay, it is hot. I've got it, as I said, I've got it on a low temp, and that was a bit spicy. Okay, now this is something that you can take your scissors, and you're just going to add like a little bit of a cut here where there is a bit of an overlap. And so I'm going to be kind of cutting around that petal. Let me show you. Like that. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side, this side over here. I'm cutting the petal that's underneath. So not the one on the top, but the one that's underneath. And the reason for that is so that I can get a full curve of that paper. If I didn't, it would be getting stuck on this petal, and it would look, it just wouldn't look as good. So do yourself a favor, just trim that section there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our center, we're going to glue it in here. A little bit of glue in the center of that cross, like that. I'm going to put that coil so it looks kind of like this. Okay. I'm going to blow on it, just get some of that a little bit cooler and harder. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take every other petal and I'm going to kind of curl it up, like the corner of every petal, and curl it up like that. Okay, so I'm going to put glue on each petal on the left side. So one edge gets folded up. And it ends up looking just a bit like a pinwheel. Okay. Whoop. My glue came loose. So it's gonna look like that. All right, so now we can set that aside. Now, since all of our petals are formed, we're gonna be able to put our flower together. So you're gonna find your circle, the flower base, and we're gonna start by putting the largest petals on first. And we're gonna be putting them on the outside edge, okay? A great way to do this is actually to lay it out on a table. So put your flower, the round circle, in the center of an open space, and then lay your petals kind of outside it, just so that you can get your 5 petals evenly distributed, so it doesn't look super lopsided. Can't really see it. I don't know if you can really see it. Let me see if I can. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I've got my circle here in the center, and I'm kind of staging my petals outside it. So they have them around evenly distributed. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the bottom of that petal, and I'm going to attach it to the outside. So with one. And I'm doing it on the inside, okay? So I'm putting it over the existing petals instead of trying to tuck it underneath. One more. Now, full disclosure, I've been very fortunate. We haven't had any patrons that have needed help, but if we have someone come in, I might need to put you on pause for just a minute and then come back to our video. So. Okay, perfect. So this is the first layer here, outside of my flower. And now we're going to go into our next, the next size again, which is going to be, we just did the largest size, the extra large. Now we're going to be moving on to our large. If you are doing the ombre, this would be dark purple, and now you'd be moving into the light purple color. Same thing. I'm going to be putting a little bit of glue on the bottom of the petal, and then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to tuck it in kind of in the where the 2 largest petals meet in on my base. So these are going to kind of go in between where those largest petals meet. A bit of glue goes a long way. And last of the large petals. There we go. All right, and now you can see that we're starting to see that shape kind of develop. And see how the curls just give it a little bit more interest and texture. It makes it look a little bit more natural. Now we're going to be moving on to that medium size. So if you're doing an ombre one, this is going to be where your petals start to turn that pink color. So I'm going to do just like I did before, that little bit of glue on the back of the petal, and then I'm going to be putting it in my flower where the large petals were kind of joined. As I'm putting them in, I'm also kind of working towards the center to close up my flower. All of the time of this project is really in the petal preparation. Once you've got the petals ready, it just goes together in a flash. Now you could do any kind of colors with these. You know, in the kits that we provided, you'd have some pretty traditional flower colors, rose colors. But you could do yellow. I've seen peach. You could do some interesting blues and greens with this. The sky's the limit. This paper that you're working with is a cardstock. It's got a little bit stronger to hold those curves and to hold the shape. Okay, I wouldn't trust this with like a copy paper. You do need a little bit of the rigidity. So we're getting closer. That's with the 3 layers. Now we need the 4th, and then we'll put the center in. Oh, you know what? I just realized. This is where paper comes in very forgiving. I used the wrong size. So I'm taking the wrong petal out. This is why it's important to keep them separate and kind of isolated. So all the mediums are all together and all the larges are all together. Okay, there we go. Much better. Much better. Okay, now we're going on to the small. I got a little ahead of myself with this one here. So just like we did before, I'm going to be going around, putting it where the medium petals joined, kind of met each other, overlapped. There. This might also be an example of talking and crafting. Some people I think are really good at talking and crafting, but I may not be one of those people. All right, there we go. And the last of the small. There we go. We're almost there, almost there. Last, we have to put in our center, our flower center, and this kind of just finishes the whole piece up. So you want to make sure you get a nice bit of glue on the center there. Just on the side because we're not going to need it. And then you just press it down into the center of your flower. There we go. There's our flower. Nicely finished. And you could add, if you had some green construction paper or green paper, you could cut out some leaves and attach those to the outside. You could, if you had colored chalk and you wanted to kind of give it a bit of a blush around the edges, you could always use the chalk to kind of give it a tint on each individual petal. You could do that before or after. You could change these to be yellow if you wanted a yellow center to make it look even more cottagey. You could certainly do that. That would look more casual, more casual rose. I hope you had fun. I hope you enjoyed this craft. Now that you have these templates, feel free to use them again to create others. You can change the size of them to make them a little bit smaller or make them bigger. If you have any questions or you want to share pictures of your finished product, we'd love to see them. I really love to see what you guys create. You can email it to the library at tplstaff@biblio.org, or you can just share it on our social media and we will make sure that we add it into our collection of finished products. So thanks so much for joining me today. Have a great day.